The Bill Clark Show, presented by Dr. Pepper. And now, Coach Bill Clark.
Welcome in. It's the Coach Bill Clark Show, presented by Buffalo Rock, Dr. Pepper, Pat Smith, along with Landry Roberts, Molly Robinson, Coach Bill Clark. And Coach, we joked around last week how it was almost like an old school separation Saturday. And man, the Alabama Crimson Tide, if you thought they were dead, they did something that a lot of people didn't think they would be able to do, is beat the Georgia Bulldogs.
Well, we talked about it. We saw the first game and really was bad. Obviously, we had to give Florida State some credit. They'd spent all that time. They brought in the new coordinators. They played well at home, but the demeanor of the head coach. I was telling this story off air just a few minutes ago. How the head coach looks, how DeBoer looks right now. This almost manic, frantic. I mean, that's what it looks like. And people talk about being calm, and he looks like he's got urgency, right? He looks like his life has passed before his eyes. But I'm not talking about where you can't do your job. But he was encouraged. What was he doing? He was clapping. Let's go. We're all right. Anytime something bad happened, that's what it looks like. We knew they had talent. So we're not talking about he's doing this with nobody. And we'll talk about the quarterback and all the other things. But I just like his demeanor. I saw that against Monroe, and they followed suit.
Kirby, that defense. What Alabama did offensively, Ryan Grove, especially in the first half, how were they able to do that?
Well, one, the open day was huge for them. They had set some things up. They had used Monroe and Wisconsin to set some things up. And I think the amount of throws and the way they threw the ball. I mean, we're seeing a lot of zone defense out of Georgia right now, which is a little different. Bringing 5-3 under 3 deep, and that's okay. But if you got a really accurate quarterback like Simpson, there's 3 under. There's stuff there.
Is that, Coach? I'm going to interrupt. Is that because they don't have the elite pass rushers they've had in the past?
Yeah, I mean, really, you're either not getting a pass rusher, or you're trying to create it. Now he wants to play too high. He used to be a too high with a lot of man underneath. They've added this because what you can't do, you can't sit back there and not have a pass rush. But they were able to get that without as much having to try to find a way to pressure. Or when they didn't do it, they didn't have pressure. Now, got to give Alabama credit. The schemes were really, really good. He's so accurate. Now, we started bragging on this guy way back. He is so accurate. So, this it didn't just happen, but the scheme was really good.
All right, so no points in the second half for Alabama. What did you see watching Kirby's defense? What did he do coming out in the second half differently than he did in the first?
Well, Alabama quit throwing the ball as much. Now, we're going to talk about somebody that needs to run the ball more here in a minute. Alabama said, we're going to run the ball. We're going to concerted effort. And they were really trying to be a little different, right? Hey, we got the lead. Let's be physical. Let's run the ball. We got to run him back, et cetera. I think if they'd have kept throwing the ball, some of that was still going to be there. Now, Kirby Smart is a great halftime adjustment guy. This is what you're doing. Oh, this is what you've decided you're going to do. We're going to adjust to it. That's why they keep playing. It's because he's made these great adjustments. But I think Alabama decided they were going to run the ball a lot more and win the game.
Based on what you saw last weekend, you look at the rest of Alabama's schedule, you look at this Georgia team, it's hard to compare year to year. We've seen some great Alabama teams, some great Georgia teams. Where do you kind of put what you saw, the caliber of talent this year with some of those past teams for each?
Well, I would say one, this could be easily the SEC championship game. Now we're just counting Oklahoma and maybe a few others, but I think they're good. I think they had such a freak show. Georgia has, as I got to see, but they were so unbelievable, so elite. I think they're good. I think they're really good. I think, and we've been using this word rarefied air, the elite of the elite, and on that day how they play. But I think they are built to be there. They're built to last. They're built to keep playing. I mean, I think their quarterback's solid. I think they got a solid running game. I think they're solid. You're just not seeing the elite pass rushers and the offensive skill specifically tied in maybe that we've seen in the past.
What about the fact that Ty Simpson came out and of course ABC, they kind of honed in on it, him talking to the team, being the leader, he being the team captain that he is, talking about it's us against the world and just really getting his team fired up. Just talk about how his poise, how he looked like going in between the hedges with just a frantic environment and being able to do what he did against Kirby.
Yeah, I think one, we've already established that he's got talent. I mean, this guy's got an elite arm, very accurate, and can move and can run. Okay, we got all that. That's great. What he also is a coach's son. Now you've got a high level dad, and if you're a student of the game, like a lot of us were of their fathers who were coaches, oh, and by the way, you got this talent. Now that's been honed by going to practice and working with quarterback coaches, and that's his dad's background, who I played, coached against. I think you've got a coach's son who is a really good quarterback, man. That's a pretty good combination. And to that point of leadership, I think you're seeing that.
I give a lot of credit to Ty Simpson. I'm going to give some credit to his dad, but I'm also going to give a lot of credit to Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb, that offensive staff, because looking at Ty Simpson in that game versus Florida State, just demeanor, body language.
Yeah.
And I realized that there were some things that were not going great as a whole for that team. But just to see the swagger, the confidence he's playing with now, and to play on a big stage, and that's why I asked you about Georgia and Alabama relative to past years, because that's the first thing that we say as people who cover college football for a living or as fans is, but do we really know how good Georgia is or Alabama is? But Ty Simpson against Georgia on the road, He looked absolutely comfortable.
He did, and that's a hard place to play. I mean, and can you imagine the hype, the excitement? Georgia, as we said, and I said this, Georgia having lost. I mean, I don't care who you are, that does something to you. We beat everybody, but we hadn't beat Alabama. You think they weren't ready? You think they weren't prepared? You think they weren't excited? Oh, and they had an open date. Their fans were hungry. I just would look down, because I've been there, down near that student section.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an unbelievable atmosphere. And to your point, he handled it superbly.
All right, so let's talk about it's not so much a trap game anymore because Vanderbilt's really good.
Yeah.
And Diego Pavia is bringing the Commodores into Bryant-Denny Stadium on Saturday. As a coach, how do you maintain that level of intensity? Because last year, Alabama didn't have that level of intensity, played sloppy, just did not play a very good football game and got upset by Vandy. How do you avoid a letdown again this year?
You repeat that as soon as that game's over. I mean, and this is when people don't understand. The only way you would understand if you were in that world of that was a relief we beat Georgia. You're like, man, how excited were you? You're excited, but you are immediately now moved to Vanderbilt. I mean, he's getting on the bus. He can breathe for a few minutes. He's already thinking about Vanderbilt. And the good news for him, was beaten by Vanderbilt back last year. He's got every reason to respect them, to respect the quarterback, to respect what they've got. Here's what they've got, though, and this is the problem. What Vanderbilt does offensively gives them problems. Going to give a lot of quarterback run game, a lot of run, play action. That quarterback is playing extremely well. He knows he can beat this team. He's done it. You got a head coach who's a defensive coach, so they're going to have a really good game plan for Alabama. Now, I think Alabama's playing really well. I think their head coach has finally seems to have gotten what it looks like in this world. But there's still going to be the question of what Vanderbilt does offensively with a head coach as the defense coordinator that is going to give them problems.
And we've had calls and we've had interviews on our show, Pat and Coach, about this Vanderbilt team and trying to get that mindset that this is Vanderbilt and Vanderbilt's legit. They got players, and that's a new age of college football. But even talking with someone who covers their program and saying this year's team would beat last year's team by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
They're that much better talent-wise. I think if you're Kalen DeBoer, you say, okay, well, maybe we didn't take them seriously.
Yeah.
But this is a team that will come in here, and we expect them to play well.
Yeah.
They could beat us if we're playing well.
That's right.
We need you maximum effort.
Yeah, it's
this
Georgia.
needs to be our Super Bowl.
It's Georgia. It's a Georgia game just the next week. And I think, can you get that across to them? It wasn't just last year was an upset. It was they were good. They're really good this time. And I think that's the part where the magic comes in for the head coach. Can he get that across to them? Can he get them to – I think if they can keep doing what they're doing, I think they're going to be fine. That's the point. That's the question that's asked. Can we maintain this? Can we keep the focus? Can we all of a sudden, does the selfishness that we'd seen some out of Alabama, does that start creeping back in? All of a sudden they forget, we beat Georgia. Now, their job as a coach is to kill all that all the time, keep their head screwed on, which is exhausting, but that's what you got to do.
One thing's for sure, Alabama had a great game plan, very smart game plan. And I know you like to go to a bank that you like to think it's very smart.
Yeah, our friends at Smart Bank who've been with us, since the jump. Obviously, I'm on the board with Smart Bank, so I know how they operate. Great folks, great service. We're starting to see locations pop up everywhere, but our locations here in Birmingham, the people there, I know them very well. They do a great job, and they're going to take care of you.
So Alabama gets a big victory at Georgia. Unfortunately for the Auburn Tigers, they start SEC play 0-2, another one-score loss, this time to Texas A&M. Just your general observances during that game.
Well, first you got to say their defense is playing very well. Obviously, they kept them in it with the big play at the end, and if you're a Texas A&M fan, you're like, man, what was that? But quick game throws are part of the run game. That's just something as a coach you got to live with if you're going to do it. Give their defense tons of credit. They talked about the talent on that defense. I think Coach Durkin's got those guys playing well. They're believing. So that's going to give them an opportunity. Even if the offense is not playing as well, even though I thought they played well against a really good Oklahoma defense, didn't play well last week, obviously, and we could talk about play calling and some other things, but defense is playing well, and I think that's where you start.
Still, though, Coach, as well as they played at times, and they played much better against Oklahoma than they did against Texas A&M, you're watching that game versus Oklahoma and all the false starts and the penalties and all the stuff that happened, the sacks. You're thinking, okay, surely during the week they get some of this figured out.
Yeah.
The frustration for Auburn fans, you say a lot of the same thing. It was a continuation of what we saw in Norman. The defense playing at a high level, but better than anybody. Is that sustainable? How do you prevent dissension in the locker room and keeping everybody on the same page? But because I think it's just human nature, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, the defense looks up and goes, "Guys, you got to help us out."
Yeah, I think a couple questions here I would ask. One, why would you not? And I said this on Monday's show. I said, why would you not run the quarterback more? Why would you not say we're going to, a la Vanderbilt, we can still throw the ball, but add him into the run game with every kind of power read, zone read. It was just those questions of why was not more, especially in this past game, was not more part of the offense. Because he is really good at that. So I think those are the questions. We know we've got some dynamic receivers outside. We can still get them the ball, I think. So I have questions about that. And I think, and you asked this question about who's in the ear of the head coach, who are throw guys, and to be a throw team, that quarterback has got to be accurate. That's what people don't understand. A big arm, that's not enough. He's got to be super accurate to be a team that really relies on the pass. That's why you got to have the run game, and you got a quarterback who can run it. He's big, he's strong. Run him more. Then you're going to get those play action shots you need, and you won't.
In regards to the offensive identity, I've heard a lot this week about people trying to figure out what the offensive identity is of Auburn. As a former head coach, when you go through spring drills and you go through summer workouts, really week 5 of the college football season, you're still trying to identify what kind of offensive identity you're going to have. I just have a hard time grasping that. Help me, coach, understand why they're still trying to understand what their identity is on offense.
Yeah, I mean, Lord, I can go in there and I can name you times where I didn't think we were running the ball good. And Mondays was a helmet day for us. I mean, Brian Vincent will tell you a story. Offense, you're in full pads. We're going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball. I always laugh when I hear people talk about, well, you did this or you did that at your place. We did what it took to win, and we did what fit our quarterback. I mean, I don't care. We're going to run the ball because you got to run the ball. Now, the amount of throws we're going to make and when we make and what kind. I mean, we had a quarterback that couldn't get the ball out quick. He could throw a great down the field throw. I mean, that's all I could get. And he was a good player, and he was a winner. So what do? We ran the ball and we threw play action. This guy can do a lot of things. I guess my question is, who is in your ear? And if they're all throw guys, then this guy's got to be able to be that all throw guy. He's got to be, and that's why I say Ty Simpson could be more of that guy because he's so accurate. I think he's going to be a guy who can play at the next level for sure. this guy's a great athlete, so I'm going to do what he does. I'm going to run the ball more. I'm going to run a lot of quarterback run. And if the guys are in your ear, that's people that you're using, then, and that's not them, that's going to hurt you.
Kind of a tough question to phrase it here, but leaning on your experience, how many times have you seen what Auburn is currently in their situation offense, where it seems like no identity, a lot of things going wrong? Or you've seen it where they get together and then all of a sudden, or maybe it takes a couple of games, it's a totally different offense and it looks 1,000 times better. How likely is that this day and age?
I mean, I think it happens. I think if you really go in there and you take a hard look at yourself and you say, man, this is do or die, and we may not want to do this. We may be worried that our quarterback gets hurt because we're running him too much, but we've got to do it. That could happen. And I've seen it happen, because when you get desperate because what happens when you win and what happens when you lose? Sometimes when you win, you may gloss over some things. We're okay. But when you lose, you're searching. And that's the question. How much desperation is there, and how much do we say, what are we good at? And that's what I used to always ask the question, because I've been on both sides of the ball, and I'm like, what can this guy do? He's got a big arm and he runs really well. Okay, we're going to throw a quick game. We're going to throw the ball down the field. We're going to run him and run the ball. And that's going to open up all those other things. He's not a system quarterback. And I've explained this to my offense coordinator before. I said, you understand what a system quarterback is? He's got to make all those throws that would be runs, and they've got to be accurate. And so if you can't do that, then you got to evolve. And that's going to be the question. Can they do that?
All right, so Hugh Freeze, immediately after the game, and again today on the SEC teleconference, he was talking about everything's on the table. We're coming in and we're just dissecting and breaking all this down to try to fix some of these issues. You historically, going into a bye week, have you ever been in that situation where you felt like your backs were beginning to be against the wall and you're going to have to come in and basically kind of a mini teardown in the middle of a season?
I always felt like my back was against the wall, and I think that's the point of, I was talking about DeBoer, coaching with urgency and fearful. And I think I always said that's kind of a defensive mentality, even though I started out on the offensive line. I think they probably feel that. Now, look what Alabama did. Let's say, what did Alabama do different? I think it was more discipline, demeanor, toughness. Maybe it wasn't as much scheme as it was that, whereas Auburn might be scheme. I think it's scheme with them, and you got a defense that's playing really good. So I think theirs is fixable. I think it's doable, but I think it's going to have to be a change. And then who's in your ear out there at receiver that you've made these promises to about how many times you're going to throw the ball? I don't know. I didn't go that route. I went the route of we're going to win. And what does it take to win? And what fits us? And now along the way, I'm going to manage those guys. We're going, hey, you may not get 10 throws, but you're going to get 3, and they're going to be for touchdowns. But at the same time, this is what it takes for us to win. Oh, by the way, you're getting paid, so and you're starting, and we are throwing you the ball. So I don't know. What does it take to win?
If you had to give us a temperature on where you think the pressure is, and I know there's a lot of pressure in college football, you felt like your back was always against the wall. But for Hugh Freeze and that particular staff, given not maybe what but just speculating, what 1 to 10, scale of 1 to 10, where that pressure is right now, how much they're feeling?
I'd say 8 or 9. I mean, because you've not had the years you wanted to have in the years past, and it's cumulative. I mean, this is added up to we need to, and in those games we got to win these games. You got to win these games. My wins were to build a program, to get some people to stay involved, to come to our games, to give money. I mean, you talk about life or death. You're in survival mode all the time, and I don't know if some of these guys have lived in those real moments. That's why I laugh about DeBoer. I mean, you got I think a really good coach who's a good person, and now I see, and he's almost frantic on the sideline. He's pumping people up but he does have an offense coordinator now that can take that load, because now he's got 2 guys, and he can be a head coach.
Yeah,
But if you are the play caller, and that's what I always said, we're going to look good on defense. I promise you. If I got to go over and coach them, which I would do, because that's what we're going to be known for. One, I also thought it won, but then I didn't have any problem go over to the offense. Every day I was over there as much as I could be over there, and they knew the things that we were going to be able to do. So they've got an open date. They got a chance.
And you said the cumulative, and I think that's where maybe Auburn, whether it's the administration or at least the fan base, it started to mount, and a lot of these losses look the same.
Yeah.
And at some point, okay, 2 top 10 teams you played on the road, you lost by a touchdown or less. That's great, but you don't beat the ranked teams at home.
Yeah.
It's a pass or fail business.
Right.
You've got to win football games. You got to find a way to do it.
Yeah.
You got all the resources there. There's no excuses at this point.
Well, that's what you got to decide. And I thought about that with Coach Freeze when he took the job. 100. I knew exactly what that looked like. If I was going to do that, I am saying I am ready to not feel satisfied unless we're undefeated champions, national champs. I mean, and we're given the resources and I'm being paid along those lines. So you understand. Now you got to mitigate. You got to protect your players, and you got to do all those things. But that comes with a business, and they pay you a lot of money to do it.
And speaking of a good business, Webb Concrete Building Services, man, that company, fine sponsor of this program. They do a great job.
Yeah, Phil Webb's best, and I think big thing for those guys. All the building supplies you need. They got locations everywhere: Oxford, Birmingham, Center, Pell City. We always talk about Pell City. They got 7 locations, and they got anything you need for your building needs.
It's always a fun part of the week, Lancer, when we get to make fun of Coach Bill Clark and his top 10 list.
Oh, we got another one on his list.
I'm sure he's got Clemson number 1.
Clemson is number 1.
Where's BYU?
Wow.
BYU 2. No, we did. Alabama's come into the top 10. I know that's not surprising. If you watch the game, Texas Tech is 10 for me. Alabama 9. No Texas. Indiana 8. Penn State 7. Texas A&M 6. I've got Oklahoma ahead of Ole Miss, opposite of what they got. I got Ole Miss 5, Oklahoma 4, Miami 3, Oregon 2. What a great game that was with Penn State. Ohio State still number 1, even though we need to see them get challenged.
Where did you have Penn State?
I had
6?
Penn State 7.
7.
Okay. All right.
We'll allow it.
Yeah, there's been some AP voters that still have Penn State like 2 or 3.
What happens when you
Well, there's a good chance that with the rest of their schedule,
Yeah.
James Franklin probably wins the rest of his games, and we get an 11-1 Penn State in the college football
You think
playoff.
they beat Ohio State?
Maybe they get SMU like they did last year in the first round and just put off the inevitable when they get beat.
Yeah.
I'm going to set you up for one of the easiest questions you've probably ever been asked on this show.
Would you take the Penn State job?
Would I?
No.
Would you? Was that what the question
The
is?
question was that.
Sure. Okay. All these hypotheticals, I'll just say yes to. What are they paying him?
Wait, you've already accepted the job. The pay's not.
No negotiation.
No, it's already done.
Can you
I
deer
feel
hunt
like it's
around
pretty
Mount
good.
Nittany?
Yes. Whiteouts.
Yes.
Sure.
stuff.
Love a good whiteout.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the Heisman.
Okay.
Is Ty Simpson?
I don't even need my notes for this one.
Oh, good.
Ty Simpson has come into the rankings.
Well, he's number 2 in Vegas right now to win the Heisman Trophy behind Dante Moore, the quarterback.
I think
at
we
Oregon.
need to probably have a different show about you guys and odds and how much y'all are obsessed
It's
with.
part of our job.
Let's go.
Coach.
Okay.
It's part of our job.
We've got 7
Do we have a
minutes
problem
left.
here with either one of you? Or is this
not a
just, this
problem.
just part of your job?
First off, Coach, it's
I
not
read the billboard every time I go South 65.
Coach, as long as you win, it's not a problem.
That's it. Spoken like a true addict.
I mean, now if you start losing and,
Right.
that's
Okay,
a problem.
back to
All
the
right,
Heisman.
Heisman.
Ty Simpson is definitely got to start being in consideration. Obviously, what does that do to Mateer with the injury? I think we're just going to see when he comes back. Obviously, we all had him up there. Of course, we got Oregon's quarterback. As they win, right, does the Smith stay in there from Ohio State? But I like Simpson. I like Mateer. And then Beck, for me, I still like Beck.
Still like Carson?
I do.
Hey, and Mendoza at Indiana.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Indiana's better than they were last year.
They are definitely better. I really think so. Yeah.
Got a good test this week. We'll see how the
Yeah,
futures
we'll
are
see.
this week.
They played well. And he's playing well.
Yeah. UAB had the off week last week and playing a service academy this week. And I know we spent on last year, the week that UAB was playing Navy, we spent a good bit of time talking about how you defend that. Couldn't come at a better time if you're UAB to have that bye week. Kind of talk to us about, in your days going up against the service academy, about that bye week and some of the things that you would do to get prepared.
Yeah, I mean, first, and I told the difference kind of how we did it. I don't know what other people did, but we really had fell into we are working on the next opponent. Now, that doesn't mean that the people off the field, I want every piece of information we can get. Now, if I knew the next game was a win, I don't ever remember that, but if I felt like that was a team I would maybe look at, we might go to the next one. I do remember having a game I thought we should win where I worked on 2 opponents. Generally, if it was a team that we needed to win, whatever it was, and they were even to us, I'm working on them double, right? So this could not have come at a better time. You've got a defense coordinator brought in to win these kind of games. Obviously, the offense, now 42-7 at half. Who are they playing against in the second half? But they did produce points and yardage second half. Army is not playing well. Not terrible, but not well. Helped Army. They had the Thursday night game. So UAB's got every opportunity here to play well.
Well, and you look at how UAB played, at least in the first 30 minutes of the game in Annapolis against Navy. You got a 24-24 game.
Yeah.
And it was the second half that proved to be the difference. But, yeah, hopefully you don't have Tim Tebow at quarterback this year for Army. That was an impressive team last year. But, yeah, I think UAB, I think the number, Pat, is around a touchdown.
Around a touchdown. Sorry, Coach. Yeah, we're talking gambling again. Yeah. It's around 7 points.
Not shocked by any of this.
You look like a disappointed father.
I really am. We'll talk about it off air.
APAs for us.
Yeah,
after practice awards.
Absolutely. Got to love that. Well, one thing's for sure. I mean, UAB isn't a good opportunity here with the bye week.
Really?
As you mentioned. And Army not playing quite as well as they did last year.
Right. This would be their best opportunity. Let's make no mistake. I mean, if your life has ever passed in front of your eyes, Coach Dilfer's life has passed in front of his eyes. I mean, he said the right thing, and I think he's done that before. But is this everybody that knows this is life or death for this program in their current state? That's what we should see.
Yeah.
And how hard they play, their preparation. And I'm not even talking about, well, I guess we are talking about winning, but we should see an unbelievable effort out of them this week.
Yeah, you got to maximize every possession because you're limited because of the style of offense you're going to be facing, and they shorten the game in a hurry.
Yep. Wasn't it the Kansas State game that Army possessed the ball for literally almost the entire – when I say almost the entire quarter, that I think it was just seconds that Kansas State had the ball in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and that puts so much pressure on your offense, and that's what happens. What do? Do you – And as you said in the first half against Navy, they responded. They were responding. They played well in that game. Didn't do a great – I mean, defensively, they had a hard time stopping, but Navy's really good offensively. So they've got an opportunity against a not as good Army team with an open date and understanding it's life or death.
And one of the reasons that the UAB offense was able to have that success, Alex Mortensen, he had told me prior to that game that maybe a little bit too methodical in the year before in preparing and planning, creating more explosive plays.
Yeah.
That's something they were able to do against Navy. Maybe you see that against an Army defense.
I would say this. Just what I've seen so far, I do think the experience of the court, he is doing a better job protecting the football because I thought he was bad. Not that he wasn't talented. I just didn't think he wasn't obsessed with protecting the football. I didn't, I saw one time in the game where he just let it go against Tennessee that I was like, what are you doing? But I think he's protecting the ball better because that is the number one stat. And if he can do that, they got a chance.
Donahue Chevrolet, another great sponsor here at the Bill Clark Show.
Yeah, our friends at Donahue, we get to talk about them on Mondays and our show here. And just, one, obviously, Chevrolet, DonahueChevrolet.com. You can go check out all the deals. There's always great deals going on. The people are great. And that's so much about when you're dealing with a car is people you can trust with a great product and the Chevys they've got.
They got ridiculous deals going on right now. On the heavy-duty trucks, whether you want to go with a Silverado, just a great selection, and they got them all there at DonahueChevrolet.com. Donahue in Fort Payne and also here in Birmingham.
That's right. Got both choices. Obviously, we like the guys here. We use them a lot.
Absolutely. All right. It's been another quick show. We appreciate you tuning in each and every Thursday night. You can also download us wherever you get your podcasts, and you can watch us on YouTube. Appreciate everybody joining us. And again, many thanks to Buffalo Rock and Dr. Pepper, Jimmy Lee, and all those fine folks for sponsoring this program each and every week. From Molly, Landrum, Coach Clark, I'm Pat. Have a great week. We'll see you next time on the Coach Bill Clark Show, presented by Buffalo Rock, Dr. Pepper.
Bicycle.
The Bill Clark Show, presented by